Satchit Ananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human form, but it is not a material human body. It is inconceivable. I am not forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I take on a body by my own sweet will. Wow. My heart is also spiritual, and I always think of the welfare of my devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service, which is meant for the devotees. Far from my heart have I abandoned irreligion, adharma, and non devotional activities. They do not appeal to me. Due to all these transcendental qualities, people generally pray to me as Rishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality Godhead, the best of all living entities. Very cool. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the words idam saridam mama durvibhavyam are very significant. 1 second. Second. To find my pen. My pen is not here. Okay. Oh, here's my pen. Okay, so my transcendental body, Satchitananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human form, but it is not a material body. It is inconceivable. I am not forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I take on a body by my own sweet will. My heart is also spiritual, and I always think of the welfare of my devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service, which is meant for the devotees. Far from my heart have I abandoned irreligion or adharma and non devotional activities. They do not appeal to me. Due to all these transcendental qualities, people generally pray to me as Rishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all living entities. Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the words idam saridam mama durvibhavyam are very significant. Generally, we experience two energies, material energy and spiritual energy. We have some experience of material energy, earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. Because in the material world, everyone's body is composed of these elements. Within the material body is the spirit soul, but we cannot see it with the material eyes. When we see a body full of spiritual energy, it is very difficult for us to understand how the spiritual energy can have a body. It is said that Lord Rishabhadeva's body is completely spiritual. Therefore, for a materialistic person, it is very difficult to understand. For a materialistic person, the completely spiritual body is inconceivable. We have to accept the version of the Vedas when our experimental perception cannot understand a subject. That's a very good statement. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Supreme, the Supreme Lord, has a body with form. But that body is not composed of material elements. It is made of spiritual bliss, eternity, and living force. By the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord can appear before us in his original spiritual body. But because we have no experience of the spiritual body, we are sometimes bewildered and see the form of the Lord as material. The Mayavadi philosophers are completely unable to conceive of a spiritual body. They say that the spirit is always in person, and whenever they see something personal, they take it for granted that it is material. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is said, Avajanantimam mutha manasim tanam asritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheswaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. Unintelligent people think that the Supreme Lord accepts a body composed of material energy. We can easily understand the material body, but we cannot understand the spiritual body. Therefore, Rishabhadeva says, Idam Sariram Mama Durvibhagyam. In the spiritual world, everyone has a spiritual body. There is no conception of material existence there. In the spiritual world, there is only service and the receiving of service. There is only seva,
Sevya.
and sevaki, sevaka. Sevya, seva, and sevaka. Very interesting. Seva, sevya, seva, and sevaka. The person serves, the process of service, and the servant. These three items are completely spiritual, and therefore the spiritual world is called absolute. There is no tinge of material contamination there, being completely transcendental to the material conception. Lord Rishabhadev states that his heart is composed of Dharma. Dharma is explained in Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam saranam vraja. In the spiritual world, every living entity is surrendered to the Supreme Lord and is completely on the spiritual platform. Although there are servitors, the served, and service, all are spiritual and variegated. At the present moment, Due to our material conception, everything is durvibhavya, inconceivable. Being the Supreme Lord, and being the Supreme, the Lord is called Rishabha, the best. In terms of Vedic language, Nityo Nityanam, we are also spiritual, but we are subordinate. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is the foremost living entity. The word Rishabha means the chief or the supreme, and and indicates the supreme being or God Himself. That's good news. So you have Sevya, Seva, and Sevaka. The person served, the process of service, and the servant. These three items are completely spiritual and therefore the spiritual servant. These three items are completely spiritual and therefore the spiritual servant. Mm. These three items are completely spiritual and therefore the spiritual world is called absolute. There is no tinge of material contamination there. Okay? That is the spiritual world. Idam saridam mamadur vibhavyam. In the spiritual world, everyone has a spiritual body. There is no conception of material existence there. In the spiritual world, there is only service and receiving service. There is only sevya, seva, and sevaka. The person served, the process of service, and the servant. These three items are completely spiritual, and therefore the spiritual world is called absolute. There is no tinge of material contamination there. Being completely transcendental to the material conception, Lord Rishabhadeva states that his heart is composed of Dharma. And Dharma is explained in Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharma Parityaja Bharikam Saranam Vraja. In the spiritual world, every living entity is surrendered to the Supreme Lord and is completely on the spiritual platform. Although there are servitors, the served and service, all are spiritual and variegated. At the present moment, due to our materialist conception, everything is durvibhavya, inconceivable. Being the supreme, the Lord is called Rishabha, the best. In terms of the Vedic language, Nityo Nityanam, we are also spiritual, but we are subordinate. Krishna, the Supreme Person, the Supreme Lord, is the foremost living entity. The word Rishabha means the chief or the supreme and indicates the supreme being or God Himself. Hare Krishna. Text number 20. My dear boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore, you should not be like the materialistic and envious men. You should accept your eldest brother, Bharata, who is exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourselves in Bharata's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Hridaya indicates the heart, which is also called Ura, the chest. The heart is situated within the chest. And although instrumentally the son is born with the aid of the genitals, he is actually born from within the heart. According to the heart's situation, the semen takes the form of a body. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, when one begets a child, his heart should be purified through the ritualistic ceremony known as Garbhodana. Rishabha's heart was always uncontaminated and spiritual. Consequently, all the sons born from the heart of Rishabhadeva were spiritually inclined. Nonetheless, Rishabha suggested that his eldest son was superior, and he advised the others to serve him. All the brothers of Bharat Maharaj were advised by Rishabhadeva to adhere to Bharata's service. The question may be asked why one should be attached to family members. For in the beginning, it was advised that one should not be attached to home and family. However, it is also advised Mahiyasam Pada Rajo Vishika. One has to serve the Mahiyam, one who is very spiritually advanced. Mahat Sevam Varam Ahur Vimukte. By serving the Mahat Tattva, the exalted devotee, one's power for liberation is open. The family of Rishabha should not be compared to an ordinary materialistic family. Bharat Maharaja, Rishabhadev's eldest son, was specifically very exalted. For this reason, the other sons were advised to serve him for his pleasure. That was not to be their duty. That was to be their duty. That was to be their duty. The Supreme Court was advising Bharat Maharaj to be the chief ruler of the planet. This is the real plan of the Supreme Court. In the Bhagavad, etc., we find that Lord Krishna wanted Maharaj Yudhisthira to be the supreme emperor of this planet. He never wanted Duryodhana to take the post. As stated in the previous verse, Lord Rishabhadeva's heart is Hridayam Yatra Dharma. The characteristic Dharma is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. To protect Dharma, Paritranaya Sadhanam, the Lord always wants the ruler of the earth to be a devotee. Then everything goes on nicely for the benefit of everyone. As soon as a demon rules the earth, everything becomes chaotic. At the present moment, the world is inclined toward the demoniac process.
Democratic
process. Same thing. But the people in general are all contaminated by the modes of passion and ignorance. Consequently, they cannot select the right person to head the government. The president is selected by the votes of ignorant Sudras. Therefore, another Sudra is elected, and immediately the entire government becomes polluted. If people strictly followed the principles of Bhagavad Gita, they would elect a person who is the Lord's devotee. Then automatically there would be good government. Rishabhadeva therefore recommends Bharata Maharaja as the emperor of this planet. Serving a devotee means serving the Supreme Lord. For a devotee always represents the Lord. When a devotee is in charge, the government is always congenial and beneficial for everyone. Well, I wonder what is the position of Mr. Modi? It seems like he is a person who is spiritually inclined and is trying to follow uh, the principles of devotional service in his personal life, and he is also sometimes, or maybe more than sometimes, uh, trying to establish a spiritual culture today. But you don't hear much about him. Do you hear much about Modi? We did a little bit before, but you don't hear too much about him now.
In what way, Maharaj?
What?
Hear about him in what way?
Well, hear about him changing the culture of demoniac life to spiritual life.
Hmm. I mean, I don't know if there is no new policies at this point. It's is also part of a what do you call combined government, right? Like he's got support of some other parties, so he might not be as powerful now.
Yeah, he
to
just
push that
barely won the
election.
election. You got to be careful. The demons will eat him up. He can't do whatever what he wants to do. That's the problem with
Democracy.
democracy. It's actually demon crazy.
Right.
It's not democracy. It's demon crazy. Translation. The two energies manifest spiritual and dull matter. Beings possessing living force, vegetables, grass, trees, and plants, are superior to dull matter, stone, earth, etc. Superior to non moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence and legs. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Dakshin, and supreme among Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I am inclined to the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are best of all.
Very
Hare Krishna.
good.
Purport.
The whole hierarchy is
Yeah,
established and finalized.
it's a pretty big hierarchy. Purport. In this verse, the Brahmanas are given a position superior to that of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that the government should be conducted under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Although Rishabhadeva recommended his eldest son, Bharata, as emperor of the earth, he still had to follow the instructions of the Brahmanas in order to govern the world perfectly. The Lord is worshipped as Brahmanya Deva. The Lord is very fond of devotees or Brahmanas. This does not refer to so-called caste Brahmanas, but to qualified Brahmanas. A Brahmana should be qualified with the 8 qualities mentioned in text 24, such as Sama, Dhamma, Satya, and Titiksha. The Brahmins should always be worshipped, and under their guidance, the ruler should discharge his duty and rule the citizens. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, the executive is not selected by very intelligent people, nor is he guided by qualified Brahmins. Consequently, chaos results. The mass of people should be educated in Krishna consciousness so that, according to the democratic process, they can select a first-class devotee, like Bharata Maharaj, to head the government. If the head of state is headed by qualified Brahmanas, everything is completely perfect. That's a big if. In this verse, the evolutionary process is indirectly mentioned. The modern theory that life evolves from matter is to some extent supported in this verse, because it is stated, Bhutesu virudhya, that is, the living entities evolved from vegetables, grass, plants, and trees, which are superior to dull matter. In other words, matter also has the potency to manifest living entities in the form of vegetables. In this sense, life comes out of matter, but matter also comes out of life. All right, now I'm really confused. Let's see. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10:8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pavartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Okay, so I understand that statement very clearly. There are 2 energies, material and spiritual, and both originally come from Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living being. Although it may be said in the material world, a living force is generated from matter, it must be admitted that originally matter is generated from the supreme living being. That is very significant. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The conclusion is that everything, both material and spiritual, is generated from the Supreme Being. From the evolutionary point of view, Perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is a worshipper of the Supreme Brahman, and the Supreme Brahman worships the Brahmana. In other words, the devotee is subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord is inclined to see to the satisfaction of his devotee. A Brahmana is called Dvija Deva, and the Lord is called Dvija Deva Deva. He is the Lord of Brahmanas. The evolutionary process is also explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya, chapter 19, wherein it is said that there are two types of living entities, moving and non-moving. Among the moving entities, there are birds, beasts, aquatics, human beings, and so on. Of these, the human beings are supposed to be the best, but they are very few. They are few. Of these small numbers of human beings, there are many low class human beings like Malechas, Pulindas, Bodhas, and Sabaras. The human being, elevated enough to accept the Vedic principles, is superior. Among those who accept the Vedic principles, generally known as Varnashrama, presently known as the Hindu system, few actually follow these principles. Of those who actually follow the Vedic principles, most perform fruitive activity or pious activity for elevation to a higher position. Manushyanam sahasresu kaschid jatati siddhaye. Out of many, attached to fruitive activity, one may be a jnani. That is, one philosophically inclined and superior to the economies. Yatatam apisidanam kaschin mam viti tattvata. Out of many jnanis, one may be liberated from the material bondage, and out of many millions of liberated jnanis, one may become a devotee of Krishna. So that implies that there are very few genuine devotees of Krishna. Text 23. O respectful Brahmins, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive, after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction indeed. I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way, than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. Well, when food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I deserve more. I derive more pleasure from the food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. Okay. Well, we should therefore offer food with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana when the food is thus offered unto Krishna. Krishna says, I eat it with full satisfaction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedic system, After the sacrificial ceremony, the brahmanas are invited to eat the remnants of the offered food. When the brahmanas eat the food, it is to be considered directly eaten by the Supreme Lord. Thus, no one can be compared to qualified brahmanas. The perfection of evolution is to be situated in the Brahminical platform. Any civilization not based on Brahminical culture or guided by Brahmanas is certainly a condemned civilization. Presently, human civilization is based on sense gratification. And consequently, more and more people are becoming addicted to different types of things. No one respects Brahminical culture. Demoniac civilization is attached to Ugra karma, horrible activities and big industries are created to satisfy unfathomable lusty desires. Consequently, the people are greatly harassed by governmental taxation. The people the people are irreligious and do not perform the sacrifices recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Yajnad Bhavati Parjanya. By the performance of sacrifice, clouds form and rain falls. Due to sufficient rainfall, there is sufficient production of food. Guided by the Brahmanas, society should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Then people will become very happy. Anad Bhavanti Bhutani. When animals and man are sufficiently fed with grains, they become stronger, their hearts become tranquil, and their brains peaceful. They can then advance in spiritual life, life's ultimate destination. Okay. Text 24. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Sabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind and controlling Sama, sense control, and Dhamma, truthfulness, and Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas, therefore, among all living entities. No one is superior to the Brahmanas. Okay, let's say statements. This is a true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. He speaks the true version of all the Vedas. as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaista sarver aham eva vedya. By studying all the Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna, one who actually assimilated the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. He is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering the threefold miseries of this compassionate conditioned world due to their not being Krishna conscious. A Brahmana should take pity on people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Shri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into the universe, into this universe, from the spiritual kingdom to teach conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender unto him. Similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. After assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist in the Supreme Lord. They assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. The Brahmanas are very dear to the Supreme Lord due to their high sattva guna qualities, and they also engage in welfare activities for all conditioned souls in the material world. Text 725. I am fully opulent, almighty, and superior to Lord Brahma and Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. I am also the bestower of all happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anyone else? Okay, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The perfect Brahminical qualification is stated herein. Akinchananam mai bhakti bhajam. The Brahmanas are always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Consequently, they have no material wants, nor do they possess material things. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 11.8, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains the position of pure Vaishnavas who are anxious to return home, back to Godhead. Niskinchanasya Bhagavad Vajano Mukasya. Those who actually want to return back to Godhead are niskinchana. That is, they have no desire for material comfort. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, Sandarsanam Vishayinam Ata Yositam Cha Ha Hanta Hanta Visa Bhakshanato Pi Asadu. Material opulence and sense gratification through the association of women are more dangerous than poison. Brahmanas, who are pure Vaishnavas, always engage in the Lord's service and are devoid of any desire for material gain. The Brahmanas do not worship David had demigods like Lord Brahma, Indra, or Lord Shiva, for they for any material comfort, for any material comfort. They do not even ask the Supreme Lord for material profit. Therefore, it is concluded that the Brahmanas are the supreme living entities of this world. Sri Kapila Deva also confirms this in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29-33. Tasman mai apita sesa priya tatma nirantara mai arpitat mana kumso mai sanyasta karmana na pasyami param bhutam akartu samadakshana. The Brahmanas are always dedicated to the Lord's service with their bodies, words, and mind. There is no better person than a Brahmana who thus engages himself in the dedicates himself to the Supreme Lord. Okay, that's the life of a genuine devotee. He accepts the responsibility of being a genuine Brahmana and engages himself and dedicates himself to the Supreme Lord. Text 26. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or non-moving. Knowing that I am situated in them, you should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respect to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word vivikta dirghi, meaning without envy, is used. All living entities are the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature. As confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Andantara Stutam Paramanu Jayantara Stutam. The Lord is situated in this universe as Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Shirodakshay Vishnu. He is also situated within every atom. According to the Vedic statements, Ishavaisham idam sarvam. The Supreme Lord is situated everywhere, and wherever he is situated is his temple. We even offer respects to a temple from a distant place, and all living entities should similarly be offered respect. This is different from the theory of pantheism, which holds that everything is God. Everything has a relationship with God because God is situated everywhere. It's situated everywhere. We should not make any particular distinctions between the poor and the rich, like the foolish worshippers of Daridra Narayana. Narayana is present in the rich as well as the poor. One should not simply think Narayana is situated among the poor. He is everywhere. An advanced devotee will offer respects to everyone, even to cats and dogs. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Pramani Gavihastani, Sunichaiva Swapakecha, Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, and a dog eater. or an outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Thus, Samadarshana, equal vision, should not be mistaken to mean that the individual is the same as the Supreme Lord. They are always distinct. Every individual person is different from the Supreme Lord. It is a mistake to equate the individual living entity with the Supreme Lord on the plea of Vivikta Drik, same Driga, same Drig, Samadrig. The Lord is always in an exalted position, even though he agrees to live everywhere. Srila Madhvacharya, quoting Padma Purana, states, Vivikta Dristi Jivanam Dishniyataya Parameshvarasya Veda Dristi. One who has clear vision and who is devoid of envy can see that the Supreme Lord is separate from all living entities. Although he is situated in every living entity. Madhvacharya further quotes from the Padma Purana. Upa de deyata, okay. Upad ayat paramatmanam divyo ya pade pade. Naiva na chai tasmat priyo Vishnos to Sanskritam. One who sees the living entity and the Supreme Lord always distinct is very dear to the Lord. Padma Purana also states, Yo Hares Chaiva Jivanam Veda Bhakta Harer Priya. One who preaches that the living entities are separate from the Supreme Lord is very dear to the Supreme Lord. Text 27. The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge gathering and working senses, is to engage fully in my service, meaning Krishna's service. Unless his senses are engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent rope around the neck of the nonsense people. Purport. As stated in the Narda Pancharatra, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatmena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. This is the conclusion of Bhakti. How all the time Lord Rishabhadeva has been stressing devotional service. And now he is concluding by saying that all the senses should be engaged in the Lord's service. There are 5 senses by which we gather knowledge, and 5 senses with which we work. These 10 senses and the mind, that's number 11, should be fully engaged in the Lord's service. Without engaging them, and in this way, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. Okay. There are 5 senses by which we gather knowledge and 5 senses with which we work. These 10 senses and the mind, which is 11, should be fully engaged in the Lord's service. Without engaging them in this way, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. Text 28. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord Rishabhadeva, instructed his own son, although they were perfectly educated and cultured. He instructed them just to set an example. Well, that's very good. He instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken devotional service alter all their material desires. No, I'm sorry. Uh, let's see. Let's start again. Um, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished, in other words, eliminated, also learned by these instructions. Lord Rishabhadeva instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest, Bharata, was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabhadeva lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself, and he left Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. Now, this is very interesting. Why would Rishabhadev live like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair? Well, that is because he doesn't want nonsense people to disturb him. So they think he's crazy. But actually, he's the most, let's say, worshipable person. So it takes one to know one. So a person who is actually following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness will be able to recognize the behavior of Rishabhadeva uh, and understand that he's actually a genuine Vaishnava, even though his behavior doesn't seem to be so transcendental. So therefore it says here, in order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabhadeva lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within him, and he left Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. Yeah, sometimes pure devotees seem to be uh, disheveled and like madmen. That's because they're fully engaged in love for Krishna. So there are madmen and there are madmen. Some madmen are actually really crazy, and other madmen are crazy in love of Krishna. Actually, the instructions given by Lord Rishabhadeva's sons were not exactly meant for his sons because they were already educated and highly advanced in knowledge. Rather, these instructions were meant for the sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Sannyasis must abide by Lord Rishabhadev's instructions while on the path of devotional service. Lord Rishabhadev retired from family life and lived like a naked madman, even while still with his family. Text 29. After accepting the feature of Avaduta, a great saintly person, without material cares, Lord Rishabhadeva passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost, or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. Yeah, they were actually abusing him, throwing stones at him and spitting on him, but he remained stoic, not disturbed by the nonsense of nonsense people. Purport. The word avadutta refers to one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashram Dharma. However, such a person may be situated fully within himself and be satisfied with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, on whom he meditates. In other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma is called Avadhuta. Such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya, and he lives completely separate and independent. Yeah, one time, long time ago, uh, in the uh, uh, where was I? Oh, I was in the Krishna conscious movement. This one sadhu walked right into the temple naked,
Okay.
and nobody said anything because he was a genuine sadhu. In fact, he had his arm like this, and he had been holding his arm up like that for a very long time. And so, it's more or less, he like almost, it was like a broken arm, but he never let it down like that.
Wow.
He was a real sadhu performing severe
That's very
tapasya.
good.
And he was naked. And he also had uh, a nail through his genitals. Right? And when he came in the temple, nobody told him to go away. They respected him because he looked like a genuine sadhu who was engaging in severe tapasya. And he stayed for some time, and then a big crowd developed, and eventually, he left and went somewhere else. He was completely naked. He had very, very long hair, like from his head all the way down to his feet. And he had his arm up, like one arm up like that all the time. Never, no, even when he slept, his arm was always up like that. So, and the devotees did not tell him to go away. They were respectful of him because of his severe tapasya. So there are people like this in the world, but you'd have to go to India to see and find people like that. And he was naked, and like I said, he actually had a nail through his penis. It's unbelievable. You know. Okay, so we will do. Oh, I think we're
Yeah,
our time.
we're time.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll end up on that sadhu's nail in his penis. That's today's big takeaway. That means that he was not at all engaged in sense gratification. Right? All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Only in India will you see such tapasya. I don't think anywhere else you'll see such,
Austerity.
renounced people. And like I said, he came naked, into the temple room, and no one said anything. They didn't say he has to go away. They recognized him as a genuine sannyas, as a genuine, let's say, renounced person. And especially the fact that he had a nail through his genitals. That means there's no question of sense gratification. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Are there any questions or comments? Anyone would like to read? Any questions or comments?
So, Maharaj, like in this case, Rishabhadev is considered, according to Bhagavatam, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the way he behaved is what some yogis might behave like, right? Avadhutas, Babas, and so on.
Yeah.
In a way, I mean, at least this description is like that. And they do call them as, Bhagavan, and they give all these names. So how do we distinguish between what Bhagavatam is telling as that versus, what these people claim, like they're also Bhagavan?
Well, when someone is surrendered to Krishna and Prabhupada, we follow the example of Prabhupada. He didn't put a nail through his genitals. He wasn't walking around naked. He was always chanting Hare Krishna. Right? So that is the tapasya of devotees, always chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and teaching people to follow the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. So there are different ways of instructing the society, but there are very few people, very, very few people that are going to walk around naked with a nail in their penis, with their hair right down to their feet, and teach people to be Krishna conscious, and nobody's going to follow that. So it's a very exceptional person that does that. However, Prabhupada didn't do it, so therefore we don't do that. We follow Prabhupada's example. He's a genuine, pure devotee. If someone wants to, put a nail through his genitals and walk around naked and have, his arm up all the time and just be walking around, naked in society, well, that's a very, very exceptional person. Very few people are going to do that. Well, you probably say nobody's going to do that. But everyone can follow Prabhupada's example of being a genuine devotee and not performing in self-destructive tapasya. So the person that's walking around with his arm up for the last 20 years is engaging in a type of self-destructive tapasya. But Prabhupada didn't teach that. He taught us to be fully Krishna conscious, to attain pure love and devotion for Krishna. We don't have to be, a showman with in what you would call engaging in and activities that hardly anyone would ever even think
Be able
about.
to follow.
Yeah. Prabhupada made Krishna consciousness easily done, and without these extreme types of tapasya.
Yeah. Krishna says the devotional service is easy and susukam kartumule, so it should be easy.
Yeah. Who is going to do that? Nobody's going to follow that. But everyone can follow Prabhupada's instructions. Therefore, we should follow the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, not be overwhelmed by these fanatical or extreme tapasvis. But there are people like that. There are people like that. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Don't walk around naked with your hair down to your feet. That is not necessary at all. Hare Krishna.
Hare
All glory to
Krishna
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki. Any other questions or comments?
You only
Okay.
see these things in India.